Okay, listen. Before we talk about the club that is easily the best in the world at the moment, this is my 400th video on my channel, and that is, I can't believe I've done this, talking to you guys 400 times. And can we marvel also at just how close I was to nailing my Atletico Madrid Olivis prediction? I said this: so I expect Atleti to do what they do best and win 1-0 on a goal from Antoine Griezmann in the last 15 minutes of the game. And what happened was a 1-0 win for Atleti where they scored with 16 minutes left, but it wasn't Griezmann. I think he was too focused on what he was gonna wear for his 80s party. It was Fernando Torres, but that's still gotta count, right? I mean, personally, I think it was close enough for me to reattain my genius at predictions status. Anyway, let's Luis Suarez or dive our way into the weekend and rewind. Which should really start and stop with the unstoppable Manchester City, who got past Tottenham with such relative ease, just like I said they would, even though I didn't get the exact score right, that it makes me wonder how many records they're going to break in the Premier League this season, and who the hell is going to beat these guys in general, even in the Champions League, because this doesn't look like a team that you'll be able to beat over two legs. Now maybe, just maybe, in a one-off final, but not over 180 minutes. They're just too good. Also, to think that they're doing it with a backline of Walker, Mangala, Otamendi, and Delph just makes it that much more impressive. So a big congratulations to their manager Pep Guardiola, who has now set consecutive win records in La Liga, the Bundesliga, and now the Premier League. And a big congratulations to his players for putting on a masterclass so far this season. So I got a quick question for you. Is Pep Guardiola the best manager in the world since he spent over $1 billion on players during his time with Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and Man City? Or do you feel like he needs to manage a mid-table club that's on a budget to success like Claudio Ranieri with Leicester to prove it? And I really want to know your thoughts, because I think there's an argument to be made on both sides of this discussion. Like, is it all that money and being around talented players that gets him those trophies? Or do you think he could do it anyway because he's just a really talented and smart guy? Maybe a little bit of both? Also, if you saw the game, or even if you didn't, because I'll put the link to the highlights in the description like always, so you know what the hell I'm talking about. Harry Kane and Dele Alli both should have been shown straight red cards for nasty studs-up tackles, which were maybe worse than Paul Pogba's tackle a few weeks ago. But luckily for them, they only got yellow cards, which for me highlighted the frustration of the Spurs' players overall, who must have known quite quickly that they're not as good as City this season, which is never a good feeling for a player, knowing your team isn't as good as the other guys like 5 minutes into the game, because then that leads to rash challenges like we saw from Harry Kane and Dele Alli, and players like Eric Dyer giving up like we saw from him at the end of the game, which was pretty disappointing. So we'll see how these players and their manager respond to this result. I'm assuming it's going to be positive, but you never know. And speaking of giving up, I think Newcastle has thrown in the towel this season. I mean, who gives up a banger to the usually uninterested Mesut Ozil to lose 1-0 to the Arsenal? Oh yeah, my favorite English club. It's great. Way to go, fellas. But I still won't say Rafa Benitez out, because unfortunately there's no one better available. Like Big Sam Allardyce, who has rejuvenated Everton, who haven't lost since he's been on board, or Roy Hodgson, who has Crystal Palace on a 7-game unbeaten run that saw them score their first away goals of the season and their first away win this past weekend over Leicester to quietly move out of the bottom 3. Or even David Moyes, who has West Ham unbeaten in their last 3 matches, which were 2 wins and a draw, without giving up a goal. So yes, I don't think there's anyone out there that I would want. And I don't even know if I wanted David Moyes. Besides maybe Thomas Tuchel. But there's no way Tuchel's gonna take over. He's too cool for the job. And speaking of taking over, Cristiano Ronaldo has taken over again, scoring yet another big goal in a final as reigning Champions League winners Real Madrid beat reigning Copa Libertadores winners Gremio 1-0 to become the first club to ever win successive FIFA Club World Cup titles, which helped Madrid win 5 trophies in a calendar year for the first time in their history, which I believe is only going to continue to further speculation about where this team ranks as one of the best ever. And frankly, where Ronaldo ranks as one of the all-time greats, because it is clear he is a winner that stops at nothing to be the best, and I admire that about him. Just like I admire our American Lord and Savior, Christian Pulisic, for shaking off not being involved in a goal, either with an assist or a goal itself, in Borussia Dortmund's last 10 games, which I like to call the not qualifying for the World Cup hangover by scoring the game-winning goal for the black and yellow in the 89th minute with two very deft touches after a well-timed run to complete Dortmund's 2-1 come-from-behind victory over Hoffenheim, which now puts his club in third place after RB Leipzig couldn't get a win for the fourth straight game. I do not know what's going on with those guys. And it puts Dortmund only 2 points behind Schalke in second. But the harsh reality is they are still a full 13 points behind Super Bayern Munich, who needed a heroic penalty save by backup goalkeeper Sven Ulreich to preserve the 1-0 away victory over Stuttgart this weekend. And speaking of Super Bayern Munich, I want to give a shout out to the Bundesliga Giants for sending me this Bernie the Bear Christmas sweater, which I am definitely going to wear to my in-laws for their annual Christmas Eve party, just to see how many people roll their eyes at me. I'm thinking the over-under is probably 5. And actually, while we're on the topic of rolling eyes, let's talk about both Milan clubs, starting with AC Milan first, because only they could beat Hell Yes Verona midweek 3-0 in the Coppa Italia, only to then lose to them 3-0 a few days later in the league. I feel like it just sums them up and their inconsistency so brilliantly, and I don't even really know what else to add to what appears to be another season and another $200 million wasted, other than, you ready for it? Eno in! Because we all know Eno would come in and save the day. God bless you, Eno. And then with regard to the other much better Milan club, how does Inter Milan not only lose at home to Udinese for their first loss of the season, but also by giving up the game-winning goal to a guy named Kevin Lasagna? Come on, Inter! You're now winless in 3 straight games in all competitions, though you can say, well, we beat a third division side in penalties midweek in the Coppa Italia, and that doesn't count. After 90 minutes, it was 0-0. So, are you guys starting to feel the pressure of being on top, or what? Well, you shouldn't anymore, since Napoli and Juventus leapfrogged you over the weekend with their solid wins. Also, mental note, I really feel like I need to consider grabbing Kevin Lasagna for my career mode team because, wait for it, he seems hungry for goals.
Hilarious and original. Hilarious and original. Hilarious and original.
As does our next player, Neymar, in this week's segment of This Week in Neymar, who came back from Brazil after tending to a personal matter a few days ago to score 2 goals and notch 2 assists in PSG's big 4-1 win over Rennes, proving that proper rest is overrated and proving that PSG's attack are unstoppable when they are feeling it. In fact, if they can continue to play this way, which is really, really good, I would pay top dollar to see PSG versus Manchester City in the Champions League final as both clubs vied for their first ever Champions League trophy. That would be intense. Though I guess it would also be somewhat ironic since both clubs paid top dollar to build their current teams, and I'd be willing to pay top dollar for a ticket. Is that ironic or just how it's supposed to be that the world's best teams are in the final and you have to pay a lot of money to see them? I don't know where I'm going with this. And now it's time for some special word shout-outs, starting with the great Kaká, who just announced his retirement at the tender age of 35 after 92 caps and 29 goals for his country and close to 700 games at the club level, where combined he won the World Cup, the Confederations Cup, the Champions League, the Scudetto, La Liga, the UEFA Super Cup, the FIFA Club World Cup, and he has the current distinction of being the last player not named Messi or Ronaldo to win the Ballon d'Or back in 2007. And outside of all of his on-the-field success, I know that he's a great humanitarian too, and I wish him continued success in phase 2 of his professional career. Also, I want to give a shout out to FC Köln for winning their first Bundesliga game of the season 1-0. Unfortunately for them though, they're still at the very bottom of the table and 9 points behind the second to last place team. So good news, but still kind of bad news. And also we got to give some love to Napoli captain Mark Hamšík for equaling Diego Maradona's 115 official goals for the club when he scored a banger in Napoli's 3-1 win over Torino this weekend. And I want to give a shout out to Celtic, whose run of 69 games unbeaten, which is a British record, is over after their 4-0 loss to Hearts. But what a run it was, and that deserves our respect. And to Eibar for beating a very, very good Valencia team 2-1 on 2 very, very good goals, which sadly should signal the end of Valencia hoping to finish in the top 3 in La Liga this season. But on a positive note, I learned that it's Eibar, not Eibar. And that makes me feel good about myself. And to Liverpool's Mohamed Salah for scoring 20 goals in all competitions before Christmas. I mean, he could do nothing else until May and still be the favorite as a signing of the season. And I should also mention Ajax for holding off AZ Alkmaar 2-1 on the road, no less, to take firm control over second place in the Eredivisie since they were tied on points with AZ. and now it helps them keep pace with league leaders PSV, who also won this weekend, so the gap between the two clubs remains at 5 points. And what about the Newcastle Jets in the A-League, who, with their 2-1 win over Adelaide United, are now only 5 points off the top, and who are only one of 3 teams out of the 10 in the league, this is a fun fact for you, that have a positive goal difference. So at least they are trying to keep the top league in Australia competitive, because it looks like Sydney FC is going to run away with it again. And I got to give some love to Spal's Sergio Floccari, who showed no mercy and broke the hearts of everyone associated with Benevento by scoring 2 goals in a 10-minute span in the second half to overcome Benevento's 1-0 lead, which helped Spal win 2-1, which also helped them crawl out of the relegation zone for the time being. I think they'll be back. And no, wait, what about Derby County, who notched a big 2-0 win over Aston Villa to create a 4-point gap between 4th, which is them, and 5th, which is Aston Villa, in the championship, and puts them only 6 points behind second place Cardiff for automatic promotion. Also, no goals for Vidra or Adama, like I said, from Friday, to keep an eye on them. Though, Vidra had an assist on the game winner after an awful giveaway by Villa. And no. What about Emelec, who with their 6-2 aggregate win over Delphine Sporting Club won the Ecuadorian League title for the 4th time in the last 5 years, which is their 14th league title in their history, and moves them 1 behind their rivals Barcelona, who have 15. And no, not that Barcelona, the other Barcelona. So we'll see if they can catch them next season. And then quickly about The Last Jedi. Honestly, I wish I would have loved it like I said in the title of the video from Friday, but it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, and that makes me sad. And in fact, I could go off about it, but I don't want to spoil it for anyone that hasn't seen it yet, unless you want me to, because I definitely have some thoughts. I mean, it was good, it just wasn't great, and it had the possibility and the potential to be great. And that's where my sadness comes from. And oh yeah, I want to give some love to Keith Leal of Flamingo FC, who moved to the top of the Warm Ballers Fantasy Premier League for the first time. So we'll see if he can hold on until May, because if he does, then I'm gonna fly to his house for a pickup game and a game of FIFA, and he's gonna lose both.
That's a promise.
And then finally, it's time to announce a winner for the Warm Ballers Starters Kit. And since I'm feeling a little saucy today because I said Atleti and City and Dortmund and Lyon would all win, and they did, and that's right. I forgot to mention Lyon beating Marseille 2-0 to move into a tie for second with Monaco. You can suck it, you haters of my predictions. I'm picking 2 winners, and they are Vampire Attorney and TFE. So you two need to hit me up on the YouTube messages or track me down on Twitter or Instagram, or you can email we@warmballers.com and we'll sort you out. So yeah, I think I covered everything except for holy shit. I also forgot to mention Barcelona absolutely dominating Deportivo La Coruña 4-0, which should set up for a banging El Clasico this upcoming weekend, but fun fact for you though, maybe not so fun for me. I have to get up at 4 a.m. on the West Coast to see it live. I mean, what the f***? Who even schedules that? Anyway, thank you for watching all the way to the end of this video, and I'll see you tomorrow for Career Mode, and then for my Champions League Round of 16 preview after that, and then something special after that, though I can't mention what it is, and then previews and predictions, and it's just gonna be a great week, so make sure you come back every single day. Later.